Need for Speed 1 is one of the first games I ever played on PC back when I was little, so this franchise means a lot to me personally. For the uninitiated, Need for Speed started out as flashy cars, high-speed police chases, satiating your, well, Need for Speed. Then the underground racing scene went mainstream, Fast and Furious blew up, and you can only guess EA struck gold. The Underground and its sequel were smash hits, and Most Wanted is what me and an entire generation consider absolute peak of the franchise. What made that era special was the cars. Forget Ferraris and country roads, there is something that hits completely different when you take an everyday city car and turn it into a homegrown speed demon. But when the Baron's Porsche and the Lamborghini started showing up in Most Wanted, I knew right then and there things were headed downhill.
Oh no!
Underground culture is built around city cars, not Lambos. They might as well have added a Formula 1 car at that point.
I don't want his mother to see this. Look how they massacred my boy.
Carbon felt like an inferior Most Wanted with a night mod. Should have been a DLC at best. After that, the franchise lost the plot completely. Pro Street and Chef ditched city streets for closed track circuits, as if Need for Speed wanted to be Gran Turismo all of a sudden. Underground and The Run leaned so hard into the story side they forgot they were supposed to be racing games. And the so-called Most Wanted remake handed the keys to a Burnout studio, and what we got in the end was another Burnout game.
They're the same picture.
At some point, EA finally took their fingers out of their ears. They promised night races and the underground scene, the whole thing back, basically Underground 3. You know those how I thought the game looked versus how I actually remember it collages? Well, this was genuinely it, we thought. Underground is back, baby! If only. Beautiful package with questionable contents. Need for Speed 2015 brought back the customization in the night races, so EA kind of solved their identity problem, but the execution was not exactly up to par. Whether it was a success or a failure, it couldn't quite answer that question itself. In my honest opinion, neither. Is it still worth your time in 2026? Well, let's find out.
But I'm gonna sit back a while, see what shakes out. Yeah, I could use a breather. Hey, where's Robin at?
Have fun. And maybe I'll see you out there, yeah? Oh, and put the tools back. Cool. Later, man.
You are the new kid on the block. After one race you impress a guy named Spike, who sends you on a spot where you can meet everyone from the local racing scene. A small crew of Spike, Amy, Robin, Manu, and Travis. Travis sells you a new set of wheels, you get welcomed into the circle, and slowly get to know each of them. One thing you find out pretty quickly is that every single one of them is full-on Notice Me Senpai mode. Each one has a racing celebrity crush, and they all just so happen to be in Ventura Bay at the same time.
What a coincidence.
Spike wants to get noticed by Magnus Walker, Manu's guy is Ken Block, rest in peace. For Amy is the legend Akira Nakai-san, and Travis is chasing Morohoshi-san. The whole game revolves around you racing alongside this crew, helping each of them get noticed by their respective professional crush, while building a name for yourself in the process. The storyline is very thin and loose, just enough context to keep you racing without actual clear end goal. There is no chart to top, no blacklist to climb like in Underground and Most Wanted. The game just hopes you like these characters enough to see everything through to the end. There is no drama or backstabbing, no sudden "I knew it" moments. It's all very much another night hanging out with the crew, let's see where this leads.
Yo ass.
The whole thing is built on the sincere developer's hope that the characters land well enough to make you care for them. And that is quite the gamble when you think about it, don't you agree? From what I remember, a lot of players in fact didn't connect with the characters at all. I liked them as a group personally, there was enough variety to tell them apart. but many people used words like cringe acting, pointed out the mind-boggling volume of fist bumping on display, which does feel like a 90s relic in a 2015 game, about as current as me calling everyone dude at this point, which I still do. Now, I'm not a drama school graduate or an actor myself, but the performances had different intensity levels worth noting. Manu and Robin's actors felt mostly there for the vibes, chill in their delivery without pushing too hard, while Travis and Amy did a better job, in my opinion, nailing their roles. Spike's actor, on the other hand, pushed himself so hard at times it felt like he was expecting an Oscar or a Golden Globe waiting behind the camera after every single cutscene, and his performance made me chuckle unintentionally a couple of times. Nothing against any of these actors, they got the gig the same way the Carbon cast did, and they did their parts. Could the story have raised the stakes and make you care more? Yeah, most definitely. What we got here as a story and premise is frankly bare minimum, if that. Story, 2 out of 5 stars.
No. Travis, you stole Nakai-san's car?
You said you wanted balanced, flawless bodywork? Here it is.
Hello there.
Cannot see, I'm legally blind.
The gameplay loop is simple. Racing builds a reputation across 5 distinct score classes based on what you do in and outside of a race, which raises your overall level and therefore unlocks more upgrades for your car. At first you will be racing where Amy, Spike, Manu and Robin tells you to, showing on the map, with each of them having their own color tied to their score class. And while Manu and Robin clearly favor drift events compared to Amy and Spike, who lean more towards the sprint and circuit racing, they do mix and match. At certain points in each individual story arc, your crew will want to meet up at the garage or a diner or the dive bar for a cutscene that gives a bit more context on where things are headed. You can also enter standalone races on your own, just for the money, or challenge AI racers you come across in the open world, though there isn't much cash to squeeze out of those, particularly. Some activities can be found on the site, like making donuts or drift a specific corner, all for the sake of additional reputation points. Races come in 3 difficulty levels, easy, medium and hard. The main difference between them is the prize purse and, let's face it, the rubber banding level of the AI. I don't think I need to explain what sprint, circuit, drag, drift and time trials are, but there are a couple of race types worth mentioning specifically, like time attack. That's a marriage between circuit and time trial. You get a very small track that takes about 30 to 40 seconds per lap, a set amount of time to post the best lap, and other racers to contend with while doing it. My advice? Drive easy on the first 2 laps. The rubber banding in this game is on steroids, and nowhere more so than here. Then there's the drift train, and I mean train as in choo-choo train. The idea is to rack up as many points as possible, but they only count if all the drivers stay together in a group. It's a genuinely novel idea, and it was pretty cool the first couple of times. Then I started dreading it because the AI cannot make up its mind whether it wants to be fast or slow. It's driving Miss Daisy slow and then all of a sudden just goes light speed as if it suddenly remembered it owes me money.
Hello again, dumbbell!
Oh, for fuck's sake.
The car roster sits at around 60 vehicles, haven't really counted them. You've got your expected JDM tuners, some American muscles thrown in, and on the higher end a handful of exotic supercars. Every car can be customized any way you see fit with original body parts specific for each model. There is also a community wrap cloud type of server where you can download and directly apply someone else's work if you're not feeling particularly creative that day. If you are the creative type, on the other hand, you can also upload your wrap for someone else to enjoy it on their car. Speaking of servers, this game is perpetually online. This was also around the time the all games should be live service mentality started picking up steam before eventually, as we all know, going completely off the rails. The game has 2 modes. All Drive is the single player multiplayer open world. I know that didn't make sense. When you join a server, you enter a session with what I noticed is no more than 8 people sharing the same world. You can meet them freely, challenge them, race them, even invite them or be invited to races regardless of anyone's car and level. Unlike in Heat and Unbound, where you have a text wheel of some kind, communication here is almost non-existent unless you have a mic on and voice chat active, which pretty much nobody has. Voice chat is proximity based unless you are grouped in a crew. There is another thing I want to comment on related to the gaming session population, but it's more of a design choice, so I'll save it for the next chapter. The second mode is speed lists, which is the multiplayer portion. You enter randomly generated type of championships of about 6 races each, going up against real-world players for multiplayer rank, extra rep, and money. Personal opinion, not really worth it. I did jump into 1 or 2 speed lists for the sake of this review, and out of 7 racers, about 4 of them were running speed cheats, going through me like a freight train despite my best efforts to stay respectful and be out of their way. You want to try it? Go for it. I'll pass. You're not missing a thing here. The open world itself has enough variety to complement the different race types: docks, mountain dragon tails, long open mini highways, and regular city streets. And what else do you find in the city? Well, police, obviously. Most of the time, unless you're already in a race, if you blow past a cop, you can just stop, pay your fine, and be on your way. In all seriousness, unless you're specifically grinding the outlaw points from the story arc, getting into a chase is a colossal waste of time here. So either for the story arc, or you're just finding yourself to be extremely bored right now. Gameplay? 4 out of 5 stars.
Okay, pull over, pay up, peace out. Traffic schools are all online anyway.
Yeah, 1 ticket won't break you. Multiple offenses, you're gonna need bail money.
True.
This is the chapter where I felt the most bipolar I have ever felt discussing design choices in the game. Starting with the good. The graphics. It's beautiful, so detailed, so photorealistic that without trying to sound corny, there are moments where it felt like I was playing a movie rather than a game. The street lights, the road details, the rain droplets, the puddles, the cars. It's genuinely a marvel, and especially for 2015, not many games can brag about that same level of detail. Now, fun fact, this game runs on the Frostbite 3 engine, that same engine that DICE uses for Battlefield. EA had some rough patches getting Frostbite to work for racing games in the past. Most notably, Frostbite 2 with Need for Speed The Run, which yes, on some places looked detailed but was clearly not built for racing in mind. Frostbite 3 then came with Need for Speed Rivals with some degree of success, but not exactly there. But here in Need for Speed 15, it just nails everything. Even Need for Speed Heat, which came 4 years later, is not as detailed as this one. Let that sink in. I was also genuinely happy to see the return of live action cutscenes, and genuinely impressed that the budget stretched far enough to include cameos from the actual racing icons like Nakai-san, Magnus Walker, and Ken Block. I can bet they were not cheap cameos. Sadly, this is also the last Need for Speed title to have live action cutscenes, as every title afterwards went with the game engine generated ones. It just hits different when it's a live action, you know? Car sounds and engines sound great. The soundtrack of the game has seen better days, and we're far away from the underground and most wanted times. I grew up with those soundtracks and would say they played a huge role in shaping my musical tastes, especially the metalcore. Here we got more music on the side of electronic and drum and bass, which genuinely, it's not bad. Anything is better than the soundtrack diarrhea that came with Need for Speed Unbound anyway. Now, on the subject of cars, here's a point of contention between mass opinion and what I personally experienced: the car handling. A lot of people hated it. No secret that Need for Speed never tried to be a sim racer, it's always been arcade. The closest it got to sim territory was Pro Street and Shift. In Need for Speed 2015, the developers tried to toe that line again, making it more simcade, although it still sits firmly in the arcade zone, especially with the break and turn style of starting drifts, for which I personally have nothing against. I'm someone who, despite additional car handling options, being made available since the Underground series, never actually dared to touch gear ratios or any handling sliders. My excuse was always, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and I'm too stupid for it anyway. Need for Speed 2015 actually encouraged me to start tweaking and experimenting, and more importantly, I could actually feel how the adjustments really affected the car.
Power at 400% capacity.
How about that?
Somehow it felt more accessible here than anywhere else. Every car handles differently, and I'm willing to bet that whoever thinks the cars are uncontrollable, here's what happened, most probably. They bought their dream car, let's say a Mazda RX-7, and had a really tough time keeping it in a straight line in a sprint race. I get it. You get your favorite car, you can't control it, game sucks, rage quits. Understandable to a degree. But in my experience, I never had much of an issue with most of the cars I drove. Sure, the occasional drift sent me face first into a wall, or after a corner the car decided to introduce itself to the oncoming traffic. Nothing drastic enough to make me snap my keyboard in two at least. On top of that, the handling adjustments made it possible to fix whatever I didn't like in the cars I drove. Was this just car luck of the draw? I don't know, but I can't argue with the fact that it helped. Sometimes no matter what you change, the car just doesn't suit you or your driving style, and that's on the car, not the game.
Just accept it.
I firmly believe the car handling is okay here, and I will die on that hill. Furthermore, if the car handling was genuinely that bad, there wouldn't be any players left. Fight that logic, especially for an 11-year-old game, and I'm yet to enter an empty session. People are coming and going constantly. Some just do their thing in the open world, minding their own business. Others are more active about it. I found myself inviting often other players. Sometimes they invite the others for quick races. It's less for the prize money, more just for the camaraderie of the whole thing, you know? Can't expect an 11-year-old game to chase Helldivers 2 numbers, for example, but it never feels empty, and for a game of its age, that's low-key impressive. One more pro before I get to the ugly side, and that's the Eddie Easter egg. Developers added a special event where you get the chance to win Eddie's iconic orange Nissan Skyline from Underground 1. You don't get to meet Eddie himself, but Melissa, his girlfriend, shows up as a voice as the event organizer, and Eddie's original voice actor also makes an appearance. It's kind of bittersweet.
Those days have come and gone.
And races happen exclusively at night or in the hillside section, where it shifts into an almost sunrise feel. For underground culture specifically, there is no other time that this should be happening. That is a huge plus for immersion. Now, the cons. Car customization. It's expansive, but at the same time weirdly limited. I appreciate that every part is original and specific for the car model, but very often the variety comes down to just one or two variants of a part, and in some cases there's absolutely nothing available for certain models.
This is a joke, right?
I'm sorry, you can't tell me that some cars have 0 variants for a rear bumper. F*** the right off. That's just ridiculous. The AI. You know how in most racing games when you enter a race, you get transported to like a separate lobby from everyone else free roaming? Well, not here. Your race takes place in the same world as everyone else at the same time, which does sound cool in theory, but in practice, you'll very quickly change your tune. I can appreciate the thought behind it, making your race feel like part of a living world, but it goes off the rails quickly and more often than not can end in a rage quit, as I admit it happened to me a couple of times. As for the cops specifically, there's no real escalation or progression to those chases. I once had a nearly 10-minute slow chase with the same cop who managed to find every single wall in every turn, and the moment I hit past 240 kilometers per hour, the chase was basically done, finished, right there and there. At one point, I genuinely asked myself, why does the police exist in this game at all? Did the developers forget to program them? As for the racer's AI, on the other hand, They just follow one invisible racing line and simply does not care if you happen to be on it. They will ram straight through you like a freight train, sometimes comically even crash into oncoming traffic simply because that traffic was in their way. Every time. And then there is the big one. The game is perpetually online with no offline mode. If you want to race alone, well, tough shit. And if you haven't figured it out by now, this means the moment EA decides to pull the plug on the servers, it becomes the crew situation all over again. I don't know how much revenue Need for Speed 2015 specifically would be generating EA these days, but I'm seriously doubting it's enough to keep the servers running indefinitely. Live service with no offline fallback means that no matter how good the game is, one day someone at EA is gonna flip the switch and that will be the end of it. And that, in this day and age, is a serious design flaw from a customer standpoint. Design, 3 out of 5 stars.
Hey man, if you're about, I'm itching to take a drive. I'll be roaming around. Hit me up later. Cheers.
Maybe I've never mentioned it before, the reason when I started this channel for game reviews was to make detailed breakdown of games which I believed were either forgotten gems, underappreciated titles, maybe even taking a look at critically panned games to investigate, sort of, did they really deserve to be accused of being a bad game, you know? And I had a number of titles in my mind already, specifically fitting the last description. Some of them were Payback, The Run, and this one in particular, Need for Speed 2015. Is it a bad game? Sincere answer from me, no, not at all. Are there Need for Speed titles that are better than this one? Absolutely, but Need for Speed 2015 is not as bad as people throughout the years have portrayed it as. Yes, there is a lot to complain about, but there's plenty to enjoy too. I'm willing to bet that when EA finally realized how misguided they had become throughout the years chasing the most wanted peak, I'm sure that they were pretty much on their last leg at that point. Need for Speed 15 was gonna make them or break them. For them was basically a final Hail Mary attempt to revive the franchise and bring back fans or finally put it to rest. For me, Need for Speed 2015 walked for Heat to run. And then we got Unbound, which basically ruined it for everyone. Fuck this game. Final score for Need for Speed 2015, 3 out of 5 stars. Thank you all for watching. As always, this is SaltyKal. Make sure you like and subscribe and continue to support the real YouTube creators, those that say no to AI and actually spend time crafting their videos for your enjoyment. See you next time.